Take what you want from me. I'll give you everything. All that and more you'll see. Just stay right here with me. Love is not fiction, but this time the story's about a king and a queen will pretend to be with paper crowns. Take what you want from me. I'll give you everything. All that and more you'll see. Just stay right here with me. Love is not fiction, but this time the story's about a king and a queen will pretend to be with paper crowns.
Here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Looting through the rubble, leaving cities war-torn, still incurring war scorn. Ragged and I'm forlorn, trying to unlock this. Open with my lockpicks, punching with my second hand every time the clock ticks.
All right, there you go.
All right, let's see if we can make this work. In 3, 2, 1. There we go. I think I have to adjust the camera a bit. Now the bot finally joined. So let me take the headphones off. Let me just make sure the audio is coming through. Perfect. Wow. Despite the delay, it's always nice when the stream kind of goes off without a hitch here. So let's tilt this, go back. As you can see, I've been growing out the facial hairs because I work outside and it helps me keep my face nice and warm with the fuzzies. So, sorry it took a bit. It's me. I'm always late to this. Had to do some housekeeping and eating and fun stuff, but I'm here now. So, welcome to the DCG 201 live stream channel. What is that? Well, first of all, there's a human here. He is known as Sidepocket. That's me. That's what people refer to me on the interwebs. I'm one of the 2 co-founders of DCG 201, formerly known as DEFCON 201 or DC 201. We are one of the many computer hacker groups under the DEFCON Group's umbrella across the United States and around the world. The 201 stands for our area code, which is in Jersey City, New Jersey, or as some people jokingly call it, Joysy City. If you want to know more about us, we used to meet third Friday of every month in person, but then the pandemic happened and our government, particularly under Trump, dropped the ball with that, which is an understatement. What the hell was that chirp? That was weird. Hang on. Huh, weird. Put do not disturb for that. There we go. So we've been live streaming, and we were supposed to resume in-person meetings back in October. I had to redo some finances, so now that all has been changed to just January. So 2024 will finally be DCG 201's year. But if you want to know more about us, we're on all the different types of socials, on all of them. I'm not even kidding at this point. We are still on the sinking ship known as Twitter because we're not going to call it X, because when Elon Musk stops dead naming humans, we will stop dead naming his stupid pet projects that he aggressively takes over and then claims all credit for. We are on the hostux.social instance of Mastodon. We are on, I should actually bring that up as a thing. We are on, let's see what else are we on. Let's try our own link here. I should have brought this up earlier. That would have been fun. We are on everything. We're on Threads as well. Instagram under DEFCON 201. We have a meetup group, a Facebook group. We're on GitHub. We're on Co-Host. We're on Spoutable. We're on a ton of things a lot of people don't know. Minds.com. And very recently, thanks to the folks, which is where we're filming at Hack Manhattan, we now have a Blue Sky account. So we're on Twitter Part 2 Jack Boogaloo for there. So if you want to check that out, I just posted our link tree in the chat where you can go look at all of those links. And if you also want more of a concrete view of things, this is going to be becoming more important later in a bit. We also have a Medium blog that I'm linked to in the chat. And finally, even though we don't really use it much now, but we're going to definitely be using it starting in 2024 for a lot of CTFs and other communication projects, here's the link to our Discord, because you're not a hacker group now unless you have a Discord or a Slack, and fuck Slack. So you might be wondering what we're live streaming here. So I have 2 different live streaming shows that I've been doing since the lockdowns began in 2020. And this one is called The Master of Unlocking, where we look at lock systems. We look at how they're set up. We look for security vulnerabilities, and we use things like lockpicks and bypassing in order to open those locks. That's all this show is really about. It's probably my most popular and honestly favorite show to do, even though I also like Crypto Barons, and we're going to be talking about the schedule of that for a bit. I need to slightly adjust the Master of Unlocking logo here because it's looking a little bit too out of its border. There we go. That's more balanced. balanced as everything should be. A few more housekeeping things. If you like what you see, and I'm going to be repeating this often, you can like, subscribe, and share. And it turns out the other streams work, so we're just correcting some issues. But you can watch us now on Twitch. If you follow and subscribe to us on Twitch, YouTube, Odyssey, PeerTube, and Kick. Out of all of those, except for Odyssey, when you follow us, we get notifications, and we cheer you, and PeerTube, we cheer you on. If you donate the cryptocurrency on Odyssey to us, we also cheer you on. And in addition, we also have privacy front ends to looking through YouTube by Invidious through Tor. And very recently, also thanks to Hack Manhattan, we now have an I2P instance of Odyssey. So there's no excuse of why you shouldn't be watching us. Following us also gives alerts to when we're live streaming. So when we're late, like I am, you'll know exactly when we're live streaming. God, I'm being dehydrated lately. I'm going to have to take a break at some point. And I'm also going to be getting into this, but tomorrow, on that blog that I posted, you are going to be seeing a post talking about our charity stream, which we haven't done in nearly a year. We used to occasionally, like every couple of months, do some sort of charity. We've done Trevor Project, we've done Rain, we've done a bunch of different things, and I'm happy to announce that every live stream, starting with this one, all the way until February, is going to be, basically until the first day of March, is going to be dedicated to this charity above me, and I will get into that in a moment when we get there. Last thing, this is a lockpicking show, and while I am a TOOOL member, this is not a TOOOL sponsored or endorsed stream. However, I do like the 2 rules that the Open Organization of Lockpickers, aka TOOOL with 3 O's, has, so I will be repeating in the beginning of the episode before I forget. So 2 things before we continue on, as always. 1, thank you. This is a whole custom layout thing. I love it. It's partly obstructed by the QR code, but we're going to get into why that's there in a bit. Thank you for that. But 1, do not pick locks that you rely on. If you pick a lock that you rely on, like your door, your front door, your gym locker, your chastity cage, whatever, you risk at breaking your lockpicking tools. You even more at risk of breaking or wearing out the lock. And the more you pick or bypass a lock, the more susceptible it is to those techniques. So someone like me will find a way easier time getting through that than if you left it alone. Of course, you also have my favorite scenario. We both break your lockpick and the lock at the same time. Fun for everybody. So just do not pick locks that you rely on. Second of all, locks, there are just etiquette. There's a whole ethics behind this too. And so the second thing is, do not pick locks that you don't own. You're going to be seeing, and this might be one of them, shitty locks. You can see our past episodes where we looked at a ton of shitty locks. And even if you see that shitty lock on a shed somewhere, there's a reason why someone put that there. And by going to that person's property and trying to pick it open, you have already trespassed. So when they come out with a giant lead pipe, that's why. Even though it's legal to own lockpicks in all states but Tennessee for some reason, if the police see you picking a public lock, like what Covert Instruments has been doing, what do you think they're going to think you're doing? So yeah, 2 basic rules. Do not pick locks that you rely on. Do not pick locks that you don't own. When you go to my classes in person when we have DCG 201 meetings, or the ones that I do at Hack Manhattan, which I'll get into in a second, all the locks that you see here, including the lock that we're covering today, are locks that I own, that I am allowing everyone to share in public because I don't rely on them. I literally just use them to learn how to pick better and to give to my students to learn teaching better. There's no impassable security, but there is etiquette. That's a good point. Lastly, as seen here, I love a lively chat. It's great to interact with all of you. If you have any questions about why am I late, why am I wearing a smock, no, I don't have cancer, it's because my hair is fucked up as always, and I forgot my other hat I usually wear on these streams. Why do I have the fuzz? What's this lock? What is life? What is existence? All of that. Please debate about it in the chat, unless you're doing a really sad troll, in which then, no one... A sad troll is like a sad bear at a circus. No one wants to see it, and I have to kick you out. Otherwise, if you're just here to lurk and learn about today's subject that I'm going to be into, and keep lurking and keep learning, as I say. So, This episode, I always start off with an episode of, it's going to be a short episode and then it goes on for 5 hours, but this is not going to be it's going to be kind of a short episode. I'm not going to show around the shop, so quick thing, I am right now in the server room at Hack Manhattan. I'm going to explain what that is and where that is in a bit. And this is sort of like a semi-private room. There's a sign that says recording in progress. Of course, sometimes someone might go in there or ask me a question, so they'll knock and I'll put everyone in the Minus World from Super Mario and talk to them without you hearing and seeing me and go back, although I don't think that's going to happen tonight. So I can't really give a tour because, one, it's a tiny room. There's not really that much to see. I also don't want to accidentally dox anything from the space. And third, what's more interesting is the rest of the space out there, but this is not a mobile camera. This is hard tethered to my system, and even if I had a mobile camera, kind of waste the time doing the space. I will say that the first episode of Master of Unlocking in 2024, you will see a lot more of Hack Manhattan than you've ever seen before because of what we're going to be doing, and I will be announcing that in a bit. Last thing I'm going to read in the chat. It's trespassing if you're told to leave and you don't, such as sign states no entry if a person tells you to leave. What you learn is what you teach security guard. Yeah, it's exactly true. I just try to cover everyone's butt by just saying, just like, if you see a lock in public and no one has said, hey, this is my lock, you have my permission to pick it because it's stuck or whatever, then you just don't bother with it. It sounds like it's common sense, but I also live in the United States. I think humans have this problem, but particularly in the United States, there's no such thing as common sense. I don't think we've ever even had it in the first place. So that's what we traded in for freedom. So that's what we do with it. The white audio noise. Hold on, let me listen because I might have to switch mics. Oh, that's just the thing with the mic. If it's too distracting, I will try a different mic layout. Because basically this is the high-res one where you'll hear the clicks of the lock. I have a different one that doesn't have that buzz currently, and that's probably because of the noise from the room. But I'm really muffled, so just if it's a problem, let me know and I'll change it. So that's what that is. Yeah, if common sense was common, everyone would have it. If it was common sense, then common would rap about it. Ha. So what are we going to be covering on today's episode? Well, kind of scraping out the bottom of the barrel here, but I thought this was actually very important things. So I was looking at my department store that has, as McNally calls, the comedy section that's known as the Master Lock, because almost every freaking hardware store is either majorly Master Lock or Master Lock and clones. And, hey, Charles. And I saw, which I haven't seen in person yet, the Master Lock 570. And, you know, normally for me, this is you take the thing, you pick it, it's going to happen in 2 seconds. I'm also unable to gut this, and I'll explain why in a bit. But there was some peculiarities about this specific lock, as well as when I researched this lock online that I honestly think is worth talking about. And that's what today's episode is going to be. It's something we haven't done in a while on the show, which is we're going to be featuring one specific type of lock, particularly a master lock, and the very interesting, comical, yet educational surprises that this lock actually secretly contains. So, let's switch over to the tabletop desktop mode. We're going to look at some web stuff real quick. I'm going to kind of explain the space, what the charity is, and then we're going to get onto this lock. Because, trust me, I think despite this probably being only roughly an hour long, despite all the filler, it's going to be worth it. I'm going to try to end around 10 my time, which is Eastern Standard Time. So let's do this. Here we go. Transition mode. Alright, so this is kind of like everything's kind of upside down. But let's go into, and there's going to be videos too. Let's go to the web browser first. So first of all, this was the medium I'm talking about. That's DCG 201. In a bit, you are going to see the thing I'm going to be talking about in a moment. But I do want to highlight that, and it didn't load because this sucks, but we do have a Blue Sky now. It's a very newest one, so it's very green. It has a shockingly good amount of users for something that I made a week ago, but we could always use more followers if you happen to be invited to Blue Sky. We don't have invites yet. If we do have invites for Blue Sky, we will literally give them away ASAP. Maybe we'll make them into charity contests. We'll see. And for the person who keeps wondering about the space, I'm currently at a space that I'm also a member of called Hack Manhattan. I'm going to post the URL in the chat here. And just a quick spiel. Hack Manhattan is a hackerspace in New York. I got to see all of the hackerspaces in New York basically get born around the same time. They appeared around like 2010-ish. On paper, if I remember correctly, they started off in like June or something, but they didn't really have their first meeting until like September or October. And I remember when they were at the 14th Street. Now they're at 37th Street between 6th and 5th Avenue. They have all sorts of classes, all sorts of... But again, like having this camera here has been a godsend, as well as this vise, this table, this recording room. That alone has been worth my membership here, dead seriously. There's also power tools that I try to accidentally not kill myself on. I'm going to be using a lot of those for all the 2024 episodes where we're going to be making custom picks and rig sets and all sorts of shit here, including some help with some other members who might be able to guest star on the live stream. We have computers. There's all sorts of awesome things you have here. It's like what you think there's a hackerspace. Also sewing. Lots of sewing. There's a whole entire sewing community here. And a Shakespeare night for some reason. Really cool stuff. Totally check them out. hackmanhattan.com. And every month they have so every week they have an open house. Every Tuesday and Thursday there's an open house from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Manhattan, 37th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue. Every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. So next Tuesday on the 12th, I'm at that open house teaching all the lockpicking stuff that you see on the live stream, but live in person. Yes, you get to smell me. It's as amazing and gross as that sounds. So if you ever wanted to smell me while I was picking locks, that's your chance to do it. So for December the 12th and the 26th, that's Tuesday, 12th, 26th, 7 to 9 p.m. at Hack Manhattan on 37th Street between 5th and 6th. If you take the PATH train, if you're from Jersey like me, 34th Street, you walk up 3 blocks, take a right, you're there. It's that good. It's also right on the orange and yellow lines, aka the FM, WTF, all of those lines go there. So, yeah, totally check them out. I hope to see you there in person if you're in the area to pick locks. If you're not, that's why I have this live show. Now I'm just going to peek at chat for a bit. Yeah, EU, also a big lock-picking zone. One day I'm going to... once again, I couldn't make it to this year's Chaos Computer Congress, but I'm really hoping to go next year. I need to go. It sounds like my type of jam. I really want to go. Don't tempt me. I could send an air capsule. That could be a prize for the type of the charity I'm going to be doing. And speaking about this charity bar that you're probably wondering, you haven't seen this on an episode in a while, and honestly, because of the layout, it's kind of thrown it off a bit. I might do some adjustments. But as I said, starting with today's episode, sort of an informal announcement. There's going to be a more formal announcement tomorrow on our Medium blog and our social media up until March. Actually, it's going to be sometime in March we're going to end. It's either going to be the 1st of March or our 7th year anniversary. Yes, we will have been around for 7 years. DCG 201 will be 7 years old on in the 3rd Thursday of March. And so probably on that day, we're going to end this charity. And what's our charity? Now, you want to preface this, okay? There's a lot going on in the world. And a big-ass thing that's been going on is the Israeli-Hamas war that's been happening. Everyone has lots of thoughts and feelings about it. We're going to let our thoughts and feelings, not our farts and prayers, but our actual thoughts and feelings here at DCG201 be known on our blog. And by the way, this is our view on this. This is our charities. This is not Hack Manhattan's charity. This is not endorsed by Hack Manhattan. I'm pretty sure a lot of members think this is a cool thing, but it's not an official thing from Hack Manhattan. This is us as DCG 201. We've decided to do this. And our thing is that we want to help out, especially, to be honest, and I'm going to put it flat, pardon my French, Hamas and Netanyahu's Israeli government can go fuck itself. And the only thing that's left are the real victims, which are the kidnapped Israelis, and especially all the Palestinian men, women, and especially children that are being shot and killed indiscriminately, particularly by the Israeli Defense Force, which I'm convinced has the worst propaganda campaign I've ever seen from any country in my life. And I studied propaganda, especially from World War II, in college 8 billion years ago. So even though, full disclosure, We probably more lean on the Palestinian thing because we hate fucking, not all authority, but we hate corrupt authority. We don't like the United States government doing the Iraq war when it happened. We did not like Russia invading the Ukraine. And similarly, despite how heinous the terrorist attacks are, we can't justify literally targeting an entire demographic of people just because a certain crazy subsection did some fucked up things. It's simple as that. Same thing with the Iraq war. Just because a couple of Saudis hijacked planes and bombed everyone did not justify all the people that we killed in Iraq that were just brown and had nothing to do with it. So that's how we feel. So we were trying to pick a charity that we felt like, even though you can kind of tell where we lean to, I think it's just a good, me and others think it's a good charity that you could just donate to and not have to think about as much. Something that would benefit everyone, and not even just the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but also there's a bunch of other terrible stuff going on. Again, the Ukraine war. There's stuff in the Congo. Everything's being on fire right now because of the past 4 years of fucked upness. So, without being around the bush, what we've decided to do is our charity from now until our anniversary in March is every live stream and other special events that we do, we're going to collect money to donate to Doctors Without Borders. Geophoning, LOL. Exactly. The top bar. Okay, I see what you mean. I can't do that live, but I will adjust that font size later. So thank you. The next stream that you see, which will be Crypto Barons, and of course the future Master of Unlocking stream, you'll be able to see that. So this is a website for Doctors Without Borders. This is a very specific thing that very recently happened where Doctors Without Borders is exactly what it sounds like. It's a group of volunteer medical professionals where when a conflict happens or a crisis happens, they volunteer all of their time and medical resources and expertise in order to helping all of the victims maimed and wounded. So, for example, usually in a conflict, like, for example, the Ukrainian conflict, they are repairing both Russian citizens and soldiers as well as Ukrainian citizens and soldiers who have been shot and wounded, and especially civilians who are caught in the crossfires on this. They are normally a very impartial organization. The recent thing which I wanted to link to is they were operating, and believe it or not, despite being a terrorist organization, because that's what they are, Hamas left them alone, and the frickin' Israel Defense Force just killed a bunch of the doctors that they sent out that were treating both Palestinian and Israeli citizens who were shot and hit with shrapnel and stuff. So they were helping other Israelis, and the stupid military shot these doctors wounded and dead. So that's how bad everything is. And again, we're going to have a blog post tomorrow that's going to go all in the detail about this, but this just lets you know of the magnitude of how fucked up things are. So, like, normally people need medical help and they all need the help they can get. In this particular instance, they really need help. And the money just doesn't go just to this. It goes to every single crisis, whether it's a hurricane, a battle, a genocide, whatever, they're out there to help. So that's what we're going to be donating for, and we're going to kind of do an interesting twist, because I'm going to post the direct donation link right now. There's going to be multiple ways you can donate on here. And by the way, I know everyone's strapped for money. I am too. I get paid on Friday. I'm going to donate. And then after this, trust me, we're going to get into the lock. Now, I might mention this a couple of times, but just trust me, it's just homework. You're going to be seeing this a lot, so get used to it. I know money's tight, but dead serious, when we've done these charities through Tiltify in the past, we've usually hit our goal literally because multiple people have donated between $1 to $5 each. I'm not even kidding. There's usually a couple of people that donate $20, and then a ton of people that donate $1 to $5, and then we smoke completely past our goals. That's usually what happens in all of this. So, let me just get the donation page here because... Here we go. So if you want to donate, even if it's $1, and by the way, when you donate, okay, so the thing about the Red Cross is they've been kind of weird and iffy, so that's why we're going for Doctors Without Borders. It's really complicated to explain why, but yeah. And by the way, in the Middle East, because they are attending to them, because the cross is now a universal symbol in the Middle Eastern area, they're actually called the Red Crescent. Interesting trivia bit right there. So here's the thing about this. When you donate, by the way, if you see that bar, not only does that bar progress up to our $200 goal because we're really trying to lowball it here for 3 months. But you do get a notification just like you do if you like, share, and subscribe to us on Twitch, Twitch, YouTube, Odyssey, and all of that. We get a notification, and we like literally worship you the rest of the entire stream, even if it's $1. So, if you want to donate, even if it's just, again, $1 or $3 or $5, or if you want to go crazy and just drop $1,000 right here, because that has actually happened in the past, there's 3 ways to do it. One, easy way, here's the donation link, is also in the description of the YouTube and in a lot of the live streams that we're doing. I get, Russia's going through hard times, trust me. I've friends both who have escaped Russia and are currently still in Russia. No one's happy. I get it. Also, I'm an American and I'm broke, so I also totally get it. Yeah, that's basically my bank account right now. See, we're more similar than we think around the world because politicians fucking suck ass and are greedy. So there's the link. I'm going to be posting this throughout multiple times in the stream where you can directly donate, okay? By the way, also, we don't handle any of the money at DCG 201. Twitch, YouTube, they don't. It literally, it's through this, like, charity PayPal system. Once it takes off whatever the little thing, like, basically all the money goes to that. So if you're worried about, like, again, like, man in the middle of, like, us, like, collecting money and just, like, scraping that and then doing lines of cocaine while we, like, eat pork rolls and shit, that's not happening because we don't even see the money on this. It literally just flies straight by us. So just that peace of mind. That's why we're going with Tiltify like we have in the past. So, again, and I'm going to post it one last time. You can go to the link and you can donate, which is right here, and this has a great explanation of what we're doing and also Doctors Without Borders. In addition, we have, if you are on Twitch, we have a built-in widget. So you can scroll down without leaving the live stream and donate directly in that widget box. And finally, if you don't have any of these, but you live in that type of country where you have a mobile phone, you might have noticed that all the way in the corner is a QR code. You can take your phone and you can scan the QR code. Oh my God, we already got Charel just donated $25. Thank you so much. I'm literally going to worship you on the stream. Thank you so much for starting off with the donation on that. I very much appreciate that, Anthony. You are so far the MVP. There's also a leaderboard for this. So if you want to donate like $26, which would actually read as $2,600 without the dot, which would make it even more hackery, you can do that. You can all compete with each other. That's what makes us great. But just want to go through, again, thank you again, Charel, for your donation. I promise we're going to get to the lock after this. You can donate through the link I'm going to be posting throughout the stream. It's also in the description for most of the video live streams. If you're on your phone and that's your only access, you can scan that QR code. I promise it's not a man in the middle of attack that's directly given to us through Tiltify. You can do it through a sandbox third party if you want to prove that, because we don't mess with shit like that. Or if you're on Twitch, there's a widget directly in the live stream that you'll be able to donate directly. Someone, knock Charel off the leaderboard. Again, thank you so much for that $25 donation. And here's the spin on this. In addition to us trying to raise, and we're already $25 to $200. That's a bigger leap than I thought. I thought someone was going to donate like $5 by the end of the stream. And also note, even if we don't make $200, everything that donates is still going to go to the Doctors Without Borders. So if we do like $199.99, that still goes to the whole thing. If it stays $25 for 3 months for some fucking reason, that $25 is going to Doctors Without Borders. You have already helped with medical facilities and professionals to save people's lives in the Israeli-Gaza conflict on both sides and problematic places all over the world. So, awesome. But I also want to mention that here's the pitch, the twist, and we're going to announce this tomorrow. You'll notice that while our charity here for 200 says DCG 201 Hackers for Doctors Without Borders, you'll notice that on the donation page it mentions Hackers for Palestine for Doctors Without Borders. What does that mean? Well, let me scroll up a bit. We made a group for all of this. So we're lowballing it, but it's 400 is the overall goal for the next 3 months until like the end of March. Okay? And what I mean by this is we're going to be contacting, we don't know who yet, but we're going to be contacting all sorts of streamers. So if you know someone, or if you yourself streams lockpicking, if you're streaming the advent of code or advent of cyber, if you live stream cybersecurity stuff, installing Arch Linux from baseline for shits and giggles, whatever hacker as fuck shit you do that you live stream on Twitch, YouTube, or any other live stream, you can contact us, or we'll contact you. And if you want to also raise money for Doctors Without Borders because of the current Israeli-Palestinian conflict and also the other disasters going around the world, get in touch. We will put you on Hackers for Palestine. We have a snazzy little logo there that has the hacker emblem. And then you can have the same banner and donate. And we're going to try to meet a minimum of all of us together, $400. So we alone are going to contribute to half of that, $200 by the end of this. Everyone else who wants to get involved in their own streams, even if it's static video, can contribute. And we're going to make that whole post tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Okay, I rambled enough. I will be mentioning the charity once in a while. But you came for Master of Unlocking. You came for actual locks. Let's deal with some actual fucking locks here. And the lock we are going to be looking at is, again, the Master Lock 570 LHPF. Don't ignore that. That's like shackle size and metal materials and stuff. I got mines for 15. So if you get through Master Lock on the website, you're a fucking idiot. But they have the schematic here. It's kind of a base padlock thing, and we're going to look at it in person. But I just thought I would show you the Master Lock product page for this. So let's go into real camera mode and take a look. All right. So as I said before, this is the Master Lock 570. Very interesting lock, and I'm going to kind of go through with this of my experience with this, because as I'm going to show later after we experiment with this lock, when I see any lock, the first thing I do is I find its product number and I enter it into YouTube and see what pops up. And usually, like, I get it's laughably bad or it's really challenging. This, honestly, has to be, in my opinion, the most decisive lock, and especially Master Lock, I have ever seen. Let me explain why. So this is the packaging, obviously, because I picked and experimented on it, as the picture shows that when I opened it. But this is the packaging. I already pre-cut this so you don't get to see me injure myself on cam. But let's look at this card here. So first thing is it's rated a number 5 in Master Lock's bullshit security scale. To note, Master Lock number 3s, the ones you can teach 5-year-olds how to pick with basic lockpick equipment or even bobby pins, is also now rated a number 5. It used to be a number 4, and now it's rated number 5. So again, this is why you never listen to Master Lock's actual rating system. It's rated for actual toughness, as it says here, with weather resistant, rather than its picking. Which is funny, because on the suggestion thing on the back of it, you can't really read it because of this camera, so I'm going to read it for you. It lists a bunch of things. It says as a cut resistant, 9 32-inch or 7mm hardened steel shackle. So it's not for a carbide. It's not hexagonal, which adds also another layer of like rigid roughness to trying to cut this open with a saw. But it is hardened steel, so it should hold up to multiple normal hammer hits. Probably Nick now is going to make a video where he clips this and then shows that I'm completely wrong in the hilarious, like, I hate locks way he does things. Because that's how I actually found this out through McNally. I actually realized I didn't load the video of that, so we might look at that later. I have a bunch of other videos, though. When I go on break, I might download it. It says solid aluminum body. It is strong, durable, and resists corrosion, which really sounds like the lock wrote this itself, didn't it? That's just so weird. Ball bearing lock mechanism for Master Hammer and pry resistant also makes that shackle shim resistance, which is the main actual reason why you have ball bearings holding your locks together instead of wedges. And then my absolute favorite fucking thing that Master Lock writes on almost all of their lock products, which is number 5, where it points to the plug in the pin and tumbler cylinder, and it reads, and I quote, 5-pin cylinder for maximum pick resistance. I'm pausing there just to have the comedy of this. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, a recent trick that I learned, by the way, is that apparently if you hold still long enough on Twitch, that it makes that the cover photo. So let's just get that out of the way right now. So So that was awkward. Thank you, Twitch. But yeah, so I always laugh at the whole pin cylinder for pick resistance or max pick resistance, because as I describe it in computer terms, that's like buying a laptop and it says hard drive for max hacker resistance. Like just by having a hard drive, not encrypted, just having a hard drive alone makes it so that hackers have a hard time breaking into it. That's not how anything works. It's the same thing here. Just having a freaking cylinder that has pins in it does not mean that now lockpicking lawyer is going to give up here. Like, that's not how this works. I just love that description. It's hilarious. Yeah, this is useless. We can throw it out. So let's look at the lock itself. I will say, very solid design, very lightweight. It feels almost like it's made out of aluminum, even though it's supposed to be steel. Fun thing, when I got this, there was like an orange sort of powder layer behind it. I think that was like a manufacturing thing. I just literally wiped off with my hands and then washed my hands, and it was fine. If I ever grow a third limb in the future, that's why. Keys are its general Master Lock Fat Bomb keys, very similar Master Lock Fat Bomb keyway, although you might notice something off the bat that we're going to get into in a second. If we look at the bitting on this key, which is kind of hint number one, is 5 pins. And there is an attempt, although a sad one, to do a high-low high pattern in the middle of the bidding. So we have like near shear line, slightly low, super high. And that's always fascinating because when we're going to do one particular technique with this, let me just do this. We do one particular technique with this. We're going to circle back to why that works because of how they did the bidding. Because normally this would throw a picker off. There's a different technique you could do with lockpicks that really feeds into that. And if we take the key, we open it, which is going to be the other hint. We're going to notice 2 things about opening this lock. First of all, unfortunately, there is no screw in here. This is a retaining pin that holds this entire SFIC bootleg sort of core in this casing. So you cannot take this out and repin it, although Lockpicking Dev, if I remember correctly, did a thing where he carefully dremeled this pin out, then drilled ridging in it, and then found an appropriately sized screw so he could take it out, gut it, and repin it without destroying it. So props to him. Maybe in a future episode I will get another one of these and we'll work with tools at Hack Manhattan and maybe someone else who actually knows what they're doing, because I won't, and try to do that where we can turn a non-repinnable lock into a proper repinnable lock, because Master Lock likes it when its users does all its work for them. But here's another interesting. By the way, it's key retaining, and it can't close, which I think is neat, unless you put the shackle back in, then it actually closes. But that brings up another thing, and that's what I find interesting about this. So I'm tempting the demo gods here, and I will say this: this is why I think it's decisive. Let's just get into it right away of why this is probably like the most decisive Master Lock ever in my experience. And we're going to watch also bits of video doing what I'm talking about. When I took this out, I have no expectations. Even when I think of something easy, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this. Because I've been and sat around and fucked with the Master Lock number 3, even though it's been like 4 years since my training. It happens, especially when you do high security stuff for so long, you're used to like a feedback from the pins that you're not getting anymore. I'm tempting the demo gods tonight, but when I got this out of the packaging, this was mostly easy to pick. I got into it about, I want to say like 15 to 20 seconds in, and I've been consistently getting into it in multiple ways in about 5 to 10 seconds. That might not happen on stream because of demo gods, but we'll see. Here's the part that fascinates me. It's not... So let's go through. So there's 5 pins in here. In fact, we're going to take my EDC and we're going to actually count those pins using the pin counting technique that I teach to all of my students here. Which is you take a tool that's completely flat edge, you find that below bullets, that key pin in there, you find that that's where the top pins are, so you flat edge facing towards all the pins, stick your tool all the way in, you push all the pins up, and as you slowly pull out, you're going to count because you're going to feel them drop, and you're going to count those drops. If it's quiet like this, you should be able to hear it, so let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do it again without me counting so you can count at home like it's Sesame Street. So there's 5 pins. And, because I've seen this gutted, there should be mostly spool pins, so there should be 3 or even 4 spool pins and about 1 or 2 standard driver pins in here. So it's chock full of spool pins. I know how to do spool pins. That's technically is what Master Lock probably thought of that would throw pickers off, but it's not. And you're going to see that when we pick this and rake this open. There's a lot of other factors that I could see new pickers having problems. First of all, the keyway, I wish I had the other lock, but it's slightly smaller than normal like Master Lock number 3 or a Master Lock 140. The bottom part of the keyway is slightly shorter, so you need to either have, if you're doing bottom of the keyway tension, which we're about to do, a shorter, smaller profile turning tool for the bottom of the keyway. Or if you even have top of the keyway, you either have something that's like a slimline tool or a tool that's more like 15,000 of an inch to 18,000 of an inch. 18,000 of an inch is probably the sweet spot instead of your usual 20 to even 25 thousandths of an inch. So that's obstacle number 1, but in my experience, because I brought this to our lockpicking thing here at Hackman Head, that didn't really throw people off too much. Here's the big thing that throws everyone off. There's no spring in the cylinder. So when you turn it, you actually have to pull the shackle out manually in order to open. So there's no spring pushing back on the core to turn. It's completely, like I can just do that. It's loose. You wouldn't think that would be like a security thing, and Master Lock probably didn't think that way, but once again, they tried to make something easier for users and made it harder for lockpickers. Because even if you're learning the practice course, a lot of low-level security locks that you start off with, and most padlocks in general, have that spring tension. So you don't realize that subconsciously when you're in there with your Master Lock number 3 or whatever, and you're picking, that you're used to a certain level of stiff resistiveness pushing back. That doesn't exist here because there's no spring pushing back when you push those pins. And that makes it extra tricky when they're all spool pins. Because, and I'm actually going to go on break in a second because I'm going to drag this out because I didn't think to drag it beforehand. The thing about spool pins, and we'll get into it when I show it, is that because of the way they're structured, they basically make it feel like you have set a normal pin, but you actually haven't set it. And so you can tell because when you push on that pin, there's what's called counter rotation, in which the turning tool is going to push in the opposite direction that you're turning it to as you push up on that pin. And with a spring tension lock, that's super easy to feel, to recognize that's a spool, and it also assists when you use the technique to straighten the spool pin out so it can set. You don't have that here. Once you realize that this is a spool pin and there's a bunch in here, you have to manually move that tension back in order to straighten up set, which means you have to have really good or near perfect control of your tensioning ability, which is something that a lot of new people don't have to deal with until they get to this. And I think that's really important because there's going to be one or two other things I'm going to mention too, but the way I've classified the Master Lock 750 is I think it's a perfect beginner's intermediate lock. Not because it's crazy bidding, even though it tries to do and fails a low-high-low in the middle. Not because it has security pins in it, which it has a bunch of spool pins, but we're going to see in a moment why that doesn't really matter that much. But more because it has, besides those two features, the lack of spring tension, which a lot of high security locks I encounter do not actually have spring tensions for their cores. The smaller keyway, which makes it a little bit more paracentric when you need more specialized tools. The fact that because there's no spring, you have to manually do all of your tensioning, which means you have huge control of tensioning. This is design stuff and skill stuff that you need when you start dealing with like high-level abuses, asset alloys, things like that. So to me, this is the best like real lock where even though it is still, in my opinion, if you know what you're doing and you've done this for a while, easy to pick, a beginner is going to struggle with this simply because it's now going to start having features, even though it didn't intend to, that you now find when you get to core, intermediary to advanced, actual hard ass annoying as fuck security locks. So we're going to pick this in a bit, but I just remembered that I'm an idiot and I didn't take out the spool practicers because I wanted to show how spool pins work before we get into this. So, and I also need to refill on water. So I am going to go on a very short break. We're going to listen to some cool beats in a bit. It's going to be about a minute, maybe two. Again, I want to remind that we are fundraising for Doctors Without Borders for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, as well as just conflicts in general around the world. So if you want to donate, there's the donation page in chat while I'm away. I want to see if anyone can either match or knock off Anthony on their donation. Again, thank you, Charel, for donating that $25. It's going to, honestly, it doesn't seem like it, especially right now, but it's going to go a long-ass way to not only reaching our goal, but the goal overall of the Hackers for Palestine thing that we're initiating now until near the end of March. So I'm going to go on break. I'm going to refill the water. I'm going to grab a couple more tools, and we're going to actually pick this and rake this. And I'm going to show all the security flaws in this, but also very much highlight why this throws people off. And at the end, we're going to watch some videos, some short clips of videos of what other people I found thought about this lock, just to give him perspective of why this lock is so divisive. So listen to the beats. I will be right back. Hope you donate to Doctors Without Borders. If not, just spread the word. That helps equally as well. See you in a bit.
Bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it. I never thought I'd let a man break me down. If buried in the pillow, I don't make a sound, but I'm crying. Cause you lying. Am I the only one that ever sees this side? All this dark shit that you tried to hide, like a Gemini. Yeah, it's a good disguise. For everybody else, you flashy, but the lights went out for me. I was front row at the sideshow, and I don't even think they know. You just do it for the flex. That's why I call you my ex. Always looking for the next. Talk much better than the sex. Showing out for the respect, but you really just a mess. You just do it for the flex. You just do it for the flex.
Bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it,
Oh,
bust it.
to dream about the way you make me feel so fucking crazy. First I smoke a J, then burn up all the shit you gave me. Playing with my life, baby, even with your family. Who ground a clown, baby boy, you ain't ready. Everybody else too flashy, but the lights went out for me. I was front row at the sideshow, and I don't even think they know. You just do it for the flex. That's why I call you my ex. Always looking for the next. Talk much better than the sex. Showing out for the respect, but you really just a mess. You just do it for the flex. You just do it for the flex.
Bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it,
I'ma bust it deuces.
bust it, bust it,
I'ma bust it deuces.
bust it.
I'ma bust it deuces. I'ma bust it deuces. You just do it for the flex. That's why I call you my ex. Always looking for the next. Talk much better than the sex. Showing out for the respect, but you really just a mess. You just do it for the flex. You just do it for the flex.
Bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it, bust it,
I'ma bust it deuces.
bust it, bust it,
I'ma bust it deuces.
bust it, bust it,
I'ma bust it deuces.
bust it,
I'ma bust it deuces.
bust it.
I just want a million. I just want a real.
Okay, I think we're back at this. So here we go. Coming back to you now. I'm gonna go to face mode first. Alright. So yeah, back. Sorry about that. Broke the top off of this because you know that's an omen. So cheers. And I brought a bunch of other stuff here, and I also finally ripped that video I was supposed to include. So now let's show you what I got. Thank you for watching the stream, by the way. If you just tuned in right now, this is Master of Unlocking on the DCG 201 channels on Twitch, YouTube, Odyssey, PeerTube, and Kick Streaming. And this show is we learn, and see I have this now, we learn locks, we learn how they're constructed, all the different, let's get this going, let's get my hybrid, oh, echo, oh that's why, sorry, forgot to turn this thing off, here we go, that kills it, sorry, that was my bad. But yeah, this is Master of Unlocking. This is one of the two shows that we do, or that I do for DCG 201, which is a computer hacker group. This is a subset of DEF CON groups. And this is a show where we take a look at locks, how they're structured, their security methods, and we look at methods such as such as lockpicking, bypassing, and other forms of physical security entrance techniques in order to defeat those security methods. Thank you, Sharel, for letting me know that. And thank you also again, Sharel, for the, I hope I'm pronouncing your username correctly, but thank you, Sharel, for also donating the $25 for that. In addition to being Uber Elite Hacksaws that we play on TV, we're also doing the charity, which is Hackers, which we're trying to raise money for Doctors Without Borders under the banner of Hackers for Palestine. Even if you don't agree with, because again, Hamas is a terrorist group, fuck Hamas. When we say Palestine, we mean the normal citizens that live in that region, which also includes what are also called Israelis, by the way. But whether you agree on the side, Doctors Without Borders just treats everyone who's sick and wounded during conflicts. So we're helping raise money for them. We're also trying to get other hackers involved too. There's the link to the donation page. If you're on Twitch, we also have a little widget at the bottom so you can watch while you donate. And if you just have your phone, we also have a QR code in the lower left corner of the screen. So if you do, and especially if you knock Charel off the leaderboard of donating $25, we cheer you on. But even if you donate $1 or $5, it still is a huge contribution. And again, you're helping like injured kids, moms, and normal civilians who are unfortunately caught up in this terrible bullshit. So, you know, we want to thank those, especially Charel, for helping out here. And we reward you by content, by doing what the show is supposed to be about, it's picking locks. So what we've been doing is we've been looking at the Master Lock 570, which again has very interesting features. I think in my evaluation that this is an easy lock, but it's only easy if you've been picking for a while and you know the methodologies and you know what you're doing. That's not like, oh, it's a skill issue. It's literally just because, again, it has these... It's weird because, by all accounts, it's just as easy as one of these motherfuckers. They're both rated Security 5 level for Master Lock, which doesn't mean anything. But they're rated the same. And I agree that these are the same levels of, like, bullshit in terms of, like, easy to pick open most of the time. But the Master Lock 570, as opposed to Master Lock 1 through 5s, are starting to now incorporate features including security pins, the amount of pins such as 5 pins, the spring that does not hold any of this together, so you don't have that same tension. Just a bunch of different features that you normally see on other types of lock designs or high security locks that I usually classify as intermediate skill level that would frustrate new people. Someone posted something in chat I'm going to do a pick. By the way, I love a lively chat. If you have questions or comments, as long as there's not lame trolls, please ask away. If not, as I always say, keep lurking and keep learning. Let me drink some water and read this, because I just got written someone just posted a copy of Ivanhoe in the chat. Charles says, what's the key blank? M4, M6, M20, M5. I've been keeping a file of different Master Lock padlocks. Which blanks go with them? My guess is M4. I would... Hold on. So the serial number on these keys are 23R09, and it says 81 on them. I would guess that they seem very similar to, like, in my opinion, the M4, which is these sort of fat bottom ones, except instead of 4 pins, they're 5 pins. They're also not hexagonal like the Magnum lines, like what we looked at before. So I would guess that they're probably close to M4s, but I don't really pay attention to keys on Master Locks, so unfortunately I can't confirm that for you. I'm now going to be curious about that and look into that, so thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, so, like, to me, and we're going to see this in a bit, and I'm going to explain spool pins first. Let's see if I can do this without embarrassing myself. To me, it's the same level of the type of stuff that you get with the Master Lock number 3. Almost. It's the same level that you get for Master Lock number 3. The difference is that, one, this has a spring tension in it that does the core. That's also why it auto-locks like that. And also, again, this just has features of stuff that you would see, for example, and I don't know if I can straighten it off, but this is a disc detainer lock. And while not necessarily high security, it has similar features, because I always include variants of locks that aren't, let's see if I can get this to work, that aren't simple keyed. trying to straighten out these gates. Trying to remember which way they go. It's going to be a thing, isn't it? Hold on. But yeah, this, for example, is not spring retaining at all. And if I could get the gates, I have to go in with a different piece of metal and straighten out all these gates again. Because I haven't taken this out in a while, so they're all discombobulated. But you can actually see in here that normally, like with this one, you can see there's a spring in here, and that's the spring tension along with the spring on the actuator. This has no spring on the actuator, it's just pure ball bearings. It's the rotation that moves the ball bearings in and out, and there's no spring in the shackle. So that type of feedback that you normally get with this sort of system is not present in even a non-security variant of a system like a disc detainer. And that's to me what the 570 introduces, which is why I kind of see it as the ultimate beginner's level integrated master lock. Now I know it feels like it's delaying things, so trust me, I should be able to pick this fairly quick, but I want to get into another thing that can throw people off about this. Not super a lot. I actually find that the smaller keyway is what throws most people off the most. But I do want to quickly get into, even though we did a huge episode of this years ago about spool pins. So I'm going to eventually get like one of those, like, we're going to be laser cutting or ordering or both a actual plastic diorama of how a spool pin works. But basically it looks, so you have the driver pins on top of a normal lock like this. Those are those little soda cans that rest on top of the cylinder on the shear line. And they call them soda cans because that's what they look like. It's a solid cylinder. A spool pin is exactly what it sounds for, and I know it's hard to see here, but the pins, the top pins above the key pins that engage with the key, are basically thinner in the middle and wider at the top. Which is where they get their name from, because they look like a spool of thread. And what that means, and unfortunately, again, this is going to appear upside down to you all. So just imagine this is European style. And actually, my favorite method with this is top the keyway. And I might as well get the good top of the keyway out because I'm going to reuse it. But what that means is that you run into the issue where you click it into place and you think it's in there because this one's lower, so the core is turning. But the thing is that the core's turning in that middle between the key pin. It's not actually turning in the gap between the key pin and the driver pin. That's what the spool pin tries to throw off. And that is what makes spool pins really good security. So the question is one, how do you notice there's a spool pin, and two, how you defeat them? Well, that's exactly actually why I have these spool 1 through 4 trainers from, my brain just died, from the Open Organizational Lock Pickers. So what it is that when you press on that pin, it's going to, as I say, do counter rotation, in which you're constantly putting that lightweight tension at the bottom. But what's going to happen instead is when you press on that pin, it's going to actually, you can actually angle it like this because you can see with my hand, it's actually pushing back. I accidentally opened it, but it's actually pushing back. Oh, sorry. Let's recorrect this. It's pushing your tension back from where your tensioning is, hence why it's counter rotation. So that's how you identify one. And normally the way you would defeat a spool pin is as you press up on that pin, you basically very gently ease off the tension you basically go with the counter rotation. As you're pushing up the same speed, you're lightening that tension load. And what that does is that makes that lopsided spool pin stand straight up. Let me do it again. And then when that gap is reached, you push it back down. And now, because it's stood up straight, that spool pin is above the shear line, the entirety of it, and that key pin's at the bottom, and now you've cut through that gap, and that's what rotates it, and you have the open. And that's the whole thing. And thank you for saying the word that my brain is blanking out on. When that rotation that you feel where you think you set this pin because you think it's a normal pin, but it's a spool pin and it's not, is called a false set. It breaks your heart. But if you're more experienced and you're used to them, it's actually a godsend, because what that allows you to do is just like with this 570, even though it's done to an absurd extreme, most high security locks have at least one or two normal pins or a serrated pin that kind of behaves like a normal pin. But they're basically a mix of different pins. So for a lot of competitions and just general lock picking, what a lot of people do is they have things like either they use a rake and a separate hook, or if the keyway is wide enough for something like this, or they might have something similar, like a stiletto, they'll have a hybrid pick like the Medusa from Sparrows, is based after Lock Noob's boom slang, where they will take the rake side of it, rake it into a false set, meaning that the standard pins are all set at the shear line, so all that's left is the security pins, then flip it over or insert a hook, and then just manipulate those remaining security pins to open it, and that's a super fast way of getting in. Eventually, as an experienced picker, if you just work on high security locks in general, you get used to that, and you get too used to that, so then when someone throws you a master lock number 3, all of a sudden you're baby again, and you start back at square one. Because you're so used to the feedback of the counter rotation and false sets that normal pins just now completely baffle you. So let's go back to this Sparrows cutaway that has nothing but spool pins in it. So again, I'm doing that rotation, and what I'm doing is, as I'm setting those spool pins, and you can kind of see it here, as you're setting it, I'm basically easing off that counter rotation. I have to reset again because I just dropped it. I'm also holding it a very weird way. Go. Yep, so that way the pins are now connecting to their shear lines. God, I haven't picked this in such a way in such a long time that it's really throwing me off. I'm trying to hold it for like the camera. Let me just actually do it the way I normally do it. See if I can get it kind of reasonable here. The top of the keyway works best for this, even though I could technically do bottom of the keyway. Actually, you know what I can do? I forget this thing's bendy, so I can actually do this. I know it's upside down for everyone, but that works. See, this is what I mean about tempting the demo gods here. So after manipulating around and like pushing on and off tension, one more. Well, first pin, second pin. Oh, there we go. And it's open. So yeah, that's what you have to do. Is that what you didn't see, and it's very subtle, was as I kept lifting them up. We'll try it again. I'm constantly just like easing off that tension and then pushing that tension back down again, so that instead of being set in that false set between the spacing in the spool, that instead what they're doing is they're actually going at the shear line and they open. And that's going to be very important because, again, this is basically this, but with even more poorly incompetent spool pins, as well as there's like one or two, probably just one normal pin in there, which is actually going to be very important. And that's why we're covering all of this. So let's recap again, and I'm going to quickly read chat of all the unique things about this. So my opinion, it's basically a master lock number 3 with an extra pin, except that one, it's chock full of spool pins, and more importantly, the keyway is slightly smaller, so if you debomb the keyway, you need to have shorter tools, and there's no spring tension, which is what really throws off picking this thing. So, without further ado, let's go in and attempt to pick this. So, interesting thing to note, normally when I use and prefer a pick, especially if I, first of all, this is way too thick. You're going to see what I put in there. That takes up the majority of the space in this lock. I can only put, and I might do it later, I might stick this pick back in and do my 15,000th of an inch. So we're not using that. We're instead going to go with a shorter profile. It's a little trickier to tension, but we're going to be able to do it. Hopefully that should work, I think. Yeah, let's give yourself something a bit shorter. This guy should, oops, sorry. Guys should do. So yeah, that gives you enough room if you're doing bottom of the keyway. I find that top of the keyway is probably the best in picking this, but you can bottom the keyway tension it. It's just because there's very little space at the bottom of the keyway. You need to have a shorter profile, smaller tension wrench, and you also need either thinner or shorter profile picks. So like a really small half diamond, or if you've noticed, what I usually use when I go for a hook is my diamond hybrid, but it's not very useful for this. What's more use? Sorry, this is the half. Sorry, this is the half diamond. Should be actually using the case. This is the half diamond that I use, but that is still too much of an upward curve to have wiggle room in here. So I have a modified pick that I've added to my creeper case, because this is basically a Sparrow's Creeper modified. It's called Attila, which is it's a hook that is so straight and curved so subtly at the end that it's really good for like low profiles, and it's also really good for if you have high, low, high biddings like it has in the middle, and you can go right underneath those pins. So chat says, newer actually branded knockoff quick sets actually have 2 spools out of the 5 chambers. Again, which is interesting about spools, because that's why I brought this out. Let me actually switch back to this guy. This is I call these the Brassy Boys. This is a Master Lock 120. The only difference between a 140. The only difference between a 140 and a 120 is the length of the shackle. So the 120s have a taller shackle than the 140s, but they're the same design. And this has a spool pin in it, but it's so poorly implemented by Master Lock that it literally, there we go. It literally doesn't matter. So what's crazy is that you can have, which you're going to notice with the 570s, because they're going to have the same flaw, you can have a spool pin. Watch now, it doesn't want to listen to me. You can have a spool pin or a serrated pin, serrated pins in your lock, but if they're like so close to the shear line, then it won't really matter. Watch, demo gods now hate me now. I'm just gonna rake it open. But like, it's not gonna really matter that you got a security pin, because you just implemented it so poorly that you might as well have just used a normal pin. So that's a big thing, and that's actually going to be one of the biggest flaws of this, especially when we use a certain technique against it, which, spoiler, is going to involve this worm rake that's based off of a triple peak, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So, enough beating around the bush, dilly-dallying. Let's actually single pin pick this. So we're going to do bottom of the keyway first. So I'm going to use a lower profile. It's the lowest profile that I have tension wrench, and hopefully that will catch in okay. It might slip a couple of times. Now I'm going to take my Sparrow's Attila tool, which is a super straight with a little hook up at the end, and now we're going to attempt the demo gods and see if I can single pin pick this. So my traditional thing, and this should work here, is back to front. So I'm already going past that high, low, high, and I just lost the grip for it. I had another bottom of the keyway that fit this better, and at the last demo thing, it's lost somewhere. So I hope I didn't lose it forever, because that means I'll have to order it again, and I really don't want to order it again. Almost there. All the spools are set. It's really just that like high, low, high going on. And yeah, I'm sorry for the rocking back and forth of the camera. Okay, we're back in that false set. I'm going to reset, try that again. Arm's cramping a bit. So for now, I'll top of the keyway, tension it. God, why is my arm... Yeah, let me try to sit closer. Because I'm like reaching all the way out. think I'm putting way too much tension on it. Hang on. Let's try it like this. Yeah. Why am I cramping now? Alright, so right now I can't do bottom of the keyway. Let's try top of the keyway like you're technically supposed to do with this. Right arm today, Jesus. I'm holding that stop sign all day. So I work as a crossing guard. So with this, because now I have more space, I'm just going to go with my half diamond. Yep. And we got an open. So yeah, I just basically, I set to there's, it seems that flanking that high, low, high, super low, I believe is simply, that's where the normal pin is. And then flanking both sides at the two high are the spool pins. So I set those two spool pins in the back. And you can actually see that with the way the key's laid out. And then set that normal pin in the middle. And then it's an open. Let's try it again, even though my arm's cramping. I love how I'm doing it this way instead of using the vise that's right next to me, but whatever. This is not the best table. One of these days I'm going to stream out. There's another table that we have normally for the Hack Manhattan for like the wood stuff. Wood, like woodworking, and that has a better clamp and it's a way more solid table. So also instead of just using the half diamond here, let's use probably my favorite pick in this set. Hang on, where did you drop to? Which is the also from Lock Noob, the Sparrow's Monkey Paw, the OG one, which has a nice profile in my kit, which has a notch in it. And anytime, because again, there's no spring tension here, so I'm manually doing that tension to set the spool pins. So if I have a hard time feeling inside of a lock, I will always reach out and grab my monkey paw to help using that notch to feel exactly what's going on in there. It's kind of like my white cane for locks. Although again, I already picked it once, so we know that's doable. Just trying to do it again, just show that it's not a fluke. Almost there. That's that false set. So now you have to go back and just do that spool pin. It should be that one in the back, that number 5. You can see why I'm using this mic, because you can hear every click in this. As I'm going to show you about the thing with the key, and I would have already guessed this with even out the key, but like it becomes really apparent when you pick this. I just dropped everything. Let's try it again. And just like with a Master Lock number 3 or a 140, you're doing lightweight, basically featherweight tension, especially because again there's no spring tension in this, so not a fluke drink. This makes me miss the tool meetings around here. I can't wait till they resume again. It's just me now in the New York metro area. It's so sad. I mean, I get support from other tool members around here, but it's just me due to a bunch of different non-political reasons, like more practical stuff that, you know, I'm not going to dox like discussions or internal things everywhere. Just know it's just me for the most part. Hold on. The other thing about this too is that it also has a steeper wicket or curve. Like this is way more of a straight line with the Master Lock number 3. This has kind of a curve to it. So you also have to like basically, which is another security thing, is essentially when I put the pick in, I'm kind of like putting it in at the side and then rocking it back up and down in order to get at the pin. So sometimes I think I'm dealing with pins and I'm accidentally actually cut on, like centered in on like the cut of the actual core of the lock. And also my hands are cramping up, which is dumb because again I have a vise right next to me, but you know, self-torture makes you smart. So there we go. And we got the open again. That's all that was. I forgot to, you know what it is again? I'm so used to spring tension, I forgot to do the manual tension on this again. That's what that was. So that's it from top of the keyway. I'm actually going to go back to bottom of the keyway really quick with the monkey paw and see if we get any progress with it, even though this is also like a steeper hook, so it's a little bit more problematic. Worst comes to worst, I can go in. Yeah, no, that's not working. I'm going to try the Attila again. At worst comes to worst, I will actually grab my 15,000ths of an inch, which is going to be kind of important a bit later, and see if we can do a similar thing. Because again, that problem is that I have to manually do... Oh, shit, I lost the tension on it. Again, I had a slightly thicker one that was perfect for this and would nail it every time, but it disparaged, so I'm probably going to have to either make or get a new one here. I'm thinking about the not the fluke comment, Charles. Which again, thank you for the $25 to donating to Doctors Without Borders. That contribution's really going to help with things. But I just laugh. I keep losing the attention on this. I just laugh because it also reminds me of like the old saying with like men of like, oh, this hasn't happened before. Okay, I'm getting frustrated with the Attila because again I don't have that perfect size thing. So what I'm going to do instead, and then we're going to try a really fun way of opening this that's going to blow your mind. And I actually did learn this from a video that we're also going to watch explaining this, but it's also from somewhere else. I'm just trying to find out where the hell this went. Hold on. Set the boom slide. There you are. So, this is my 15,000th of an inch hook. It has the same profile as, where'd it go? It actually has pretty much the same profile as my standard short hook. That's also from Sparrows. But the difference is that this is 20,000th of an inch. And see when I bend it, it's flexible, but it only goes a certain way. I can super bend this the whole way. This is way thinner. It's 15,000th of an inch. And again, it's really, I use it for locks with smaller keyways, and because of the power centricness of higher security locks, I use it for higher security locks. Cheers for that. No, I have. This has been I've been doing a lot of mental health stuff. I've been doing a lot of self-care. I've been doing a lot to reset up doing meetings for DCG 201. Again, all this was supposed to be in October. I had to delay everything to January, but I think it's going to be way better off for it. Alright, so 15,000 inch. I have to be a little bit more delicate here, but it's definitely fitting in here. Let's see if we can get... Damn it. Alright. I'm going to give up bottom of the keyway tension for now. If I find the other tension wrench eventually, I will so gladly do that. Actually, you know what? That actually might be this one. Let's try that. That might be dumb, and it might have been this one the entire time. No, that one's still too thick. Yeah, because I have like 3 super thick ones and a thin one. I used to have like a thin one, a medium one, and then the 3 thick ones. I don't know where the other one went, so whatever. But actually what I want to do, speaking of bottom of the keyway, let's get that thin one back. There's actually a way to defeat this that is absolutely goddamn hilarious that I learned from a video watching this. So, despite this being... Okay, so normally one of the reasons why you'd have spool pins is 2 things. One, make it more difficult for a SPP or a single pin picker to pick the lock open. The other prevention method is that... Okay, the other prevention method is raking. Technically, if you have particularly spool pins, but you can also do this with serrated pins, it's supposed to be way more resistive to just simply raking the lock open, right? But, again, that's if you implement your security pins well, which, again, we're talking about master lock. So, this is what I'm talking about with the key here. So, as you can see, is the back of this. Bitting from the back of the lock to the front of the lock is we have it very close to the shear line, very close to the shear line, so I'm basically mostly ignoring these 2 pins. I might have to like jostle them a little bit if something's stuck, but that's it. Then I have something that's slightly low, something that's super low, and then slightly low. So we have a high, low, high. That's a security feature, that sort of extreme bitting. Now, ideally, you'd want to do a high, low, high, low, high, low, just completely make it into a craggly rock. But sometimes just putting one in the middle, or especially in the beginning, will also throw people off. So I'm not going to dock Master Lock off for this. I will dock them for the fact that since the other 2 are at the shear line, and that the other 2 are shallower cuts and then 1 deep cut, one, that means I only have to set the 2 spools on either side of what I believe is a standard pin that's a deep cut in order to open this, so it's really a 3-pin lock instead of a 5-pin lock technically. But the other issue is that because of that gap in the middle, that's why I'm allowed to do this trick, where basically I can take a triple peak rake, such as this worm rake, and instead of doing the usual, because the keyway is too small, of going back and forth like I'm brushing my teeth, I can instead go mid to 2/3 of the way in and rock it back and forth, because that rocking will set the other pins around the deep cut to their shear lines, and then push up a bit on that middle to set that middle one, and it opens really goddamn fast. And that's how they poorly implemented it, was they put it in the middle, and it's still not too much of an extreme for it to work. So let's tempt demo gods to do it. So I have my thin bottom of the keyway tension wrench, because you don't want to do at top of the keyway tension wrench, because even though I'm just wiggling, I have a risk of either falling or pulling it out. And I put that rake in here, and again, instead of going in and out like normally, I'm going to just rock it up and down. And we have it open. Isn't that insane how fast this is? This is Master Lock rates this as a number 5, and again, this throws off a lot of beginners. But in my opinion, this is as easy to rake with this technique, or even easier to rake with this technique, than a Master Lock number 3 is, which is, oh, sorry, I lost the grip to that, which is, to me, is absolutely hilarious and really adds to that whole Master Lock TM of the way lock systems work. And sometimes I have to actually put the other tool in, the bottom tool. So again, just wiggling up and down, which vibrates those pins before and after it, and then it just freaking opens. So yeah, isn't that amazing that even though we can bomb the keyway, even though I couldn't do it at the time, and top the keyway single pin pick it, we can also rake it that way. I find it really fascinating too, because, unless this is going to be a fluke, I can't really do that with the city rake. And a city rake is designed for you to rake it up and down like that, but no matter how many times I use a city rake on it, maybe because the city rake profile is too large or something, I either lose the grip on the tensioning, or it just doesn't open. So I find it hilarious that it only works on triple peaks, but it doesn't, that wiggling technique, which you normally use on a city rake, but if the city rake doesn't work, it actually works on the triple peak. Who the hell knows? Isn't that crazy? So again, we did multiple different ways of opening this. Now, there's one last way we can open it, and we're going to basically wrap up the stream in the next like 5 to 8 minutes, in which I'll go over details of how we do that. But what we're going to do is, before we get to that technique, we're going to watch some of the videos that I did recon of when watching, I'm going to scoot back over, when researching this Master Lock number 570. Because again, depending on who you ask online, this is either super easy to open, or this is one of the most pain-in-the-ass annoying locks unless you know what you're doing. So let's go back to browser mode here. Let's see, I also have to add this video here real quick that I hope properly formats in, because I forgot to do it beforehand. Here it is. I hope that works when it comes to it. Alright, so after the lag, come on. I'm having lag on my end with it. There we go on the terminal. Let's go to web browser mode. And by the way, speaking of web browser mode, I want to remind again that we are trying to raise money for Doctors Without Borders. mainly because of the ongoing Israeli-Gaza war going on between the Israeli Defense Force of Awfulness and Hamas, the awful terrorist group. I hope they both die. That's my personal opinion, not DCG 201's. DCG 201's is we just want to help all of the innocent Palestinians, even the Israeli citizens that are all suffering through this, which is what Doctors Without Borders does, even though they just recently got attacked directly by the Israeli Defense Force. They were helping Israeli people who were wounded and the military shot them. Not even the United States military is that in-depth, in my opinion, which says a lot. But if you want to donate, we're doing this initiative called Hackers for Palestine, for all the people in the Palestinian region. If you donate any money towards that, to our goal, that little bar goes up, you'll be listed on here like the way Sharel did, who donated $25. Thank you so much, Sharel, for donating that. That's going to go for, that's a great way to kick off this whole thing. Our personal goal is $200. The entire Hackers for Palestine is $400. We're going to try to get other streamers involved. If you stream or do videos of picking locks and you want to join in, or info security or whatever cool computer thing, let us know. We'll add you to this directly as a contributor. You can get some more layout for your live streams or videos, or at least the donation link, and you can get all that there. We're only going to be streaming for like 10, maybe more minutes left, so if you want to get those donations in, especially if you want to donate $26 or $25.50 and knock Sharel directly off the leaderboard, you can either click on the link in the chat, which is pretty good if you're on everything but Twitch. If you're on Twitch, if you scroll down while watching, we have a little widget that will allow you to donate directly through Tiltify. And Tiltify is amazing. They allow us to not handle the money while directly dealing with the charity for that. And if you are just on mobile and you're watching this weird, like through Nvidia's, through Tor, or Odyssey through I2P, there's that QR code on the bottom that you can scan with your phone. I promise it's not a middle of a man attack, but that will also work as well. So just trying to get that out of there. So like I said, when I was looking up this lock, there was just a ton of different opinions and videos about this. And the first one I want to look at is Night Owl, which, full disclosure, longtime friend of mine, and I consider him, because I've learned so much about this from him, even though, funny enough, he wasn't actually my first teacher in lock. That'll be a story for another day. Maybe that'll be a charity goal. But I always call him my mentor. Some of the stuff that I have, especially the handcuffs, are on loan from him. I actually have to give them back soon, not because he's demanding it, because I want to give them back. I've had them for too long, and I'm going to be ordering a bunch of my own. Really super amazing human being, never mind lock sporter, knows a ton about the history of locks, and there's another bit about him that I'm holding, but he has a video of him 6 years ago dealing with the Master Lock 570, and we're going to take a quick look at that and hear his thoughts on it, and I'm going to give you a fun wrinkle about all of this to just put in perspective, especially if you're new starting out and you feel frustrated because you see Lockpicking Lawyer and McNally and Lady Locks and just all of these pantheon deities who can just, you know, wave their genitalia around a Medico and it instantly opens, and you're here just like Patrick nailing a board into his head. I want you to watch this video from Night Owl, and I'm going to give you some extra tidbits, who's my mentor, and this will hopefully put in perspective about the lock sport learning experience and your journey through it. So without further ado, Night Owl from 6 years ago, take it away.
Hey everybody, from the Kryptonite padlocks. Hopefully that will be short, assuming that the mailman arrives with the care package from Jeff Moss, which has some really interesting new variations on that I'm going to try to show you soon. In the meantime, this is a Master Lock number 570, and the reason I'm going to show it to you is it came up in a conversation I was having earlier today on Twitter, and it occurred to me that I had never gotten this on video. Now, I have had this particular lock for quite a while, and it is a tough one. I worked at it for a very long time when I first got it. I finally got it open a couple of times, and I got so frustrated with it, I tossed it in a drawer and sort of forgot that I had it. And until this conversation happened, it hadn't occurred to me to get it out, and I hadn't realized that I had never gotten it on video for you. So we're going to try to pick it today. So, important things to know. Aluminum body, lightweight, not as resistant to destructive entry, but that's not our thing. It uses a ball bearing and cam system, so no shimming is going to happen. It's also set up to be key retaining, so there's no spring back here on the tailpiece, which means that any pressure you exert on the plug, there's going to be no resistance to it. And this one is particularly loose fitting, so it likes to turn very easily. So we're going to try this Peterson's Bosnian Bill pry bar. Get it in there. And we're going to use one of Peterson's 18 thousandths hooks. And this is a 5-pin lock. Only one of them is a standard pin, which is really a big part of what makes this so frustrating. So here's pin 1. That's pretty well set. Now we're onto the spools. Pin 2. We have to slack off tension here. There we go. And it looks like that's set to the right height. Now number 3. And now number 3, we're deep enough in here that the pick riding on the lip of this keyway is actually fighting against us. So we have to steer very carefully the plug back close enough that number 3 can ride over the lip. I'm just going to check that we didn't drop anything. Oh. Okay, we dropped number 1. Doesn't usually happen, but let's try number 4 now. There we go. Rocked it past there. And number 5, we are very deep in there. Oh, come on. Number 5. Or maybe that was number 4 again that we were setting. So at this point, I have got no idea where we are in this thing, really, because with the number of pins that we have set already, it gets very difficult to count the pins. So let's see what we can do. I'm still caught on something. Oh, there we go. It's either number 3 or number 4, and we've got an open. Now, Lothar, I know that probably won't be as helpful to you as I had hoped, but we did get it open.
So, here's the reason why I bring up this video for now. And this is, again, there's a big reason why, yeah, just like in any other field, there's unfortunately some dick waving going around. Way less than a lot of other fields, especially in like computing, security fields, and security fields in general. There is some of it. It's not encouraged. It's really looked down upon, and I rarely encounter it. And so I'm just saying that because this is not me crapping on my mentor or anything. I just want to show you perspective, especially I'm assuming that you are new or starting out, to just give you perspective on your journey. As Night Owl said, this video was 6 years old, so when he got the Master Lock 570, a year or two before this, it frustrated him so much, it's like me with the freaking American locks, that he threw this in a drawer. It was the first one he ever had that was like this. And you saw on the video, he's a bit more experienced now, it's been a year or two later, and he's picking it, and it's taking him slightly longer than it was for me to pick it. And I can also pick this way faster than that. It's just right now the demo gods hate me, especially Bomb the Keyway, which is considered unusual for this type of lock. Him opening it in this video is 6 years ago. Do you know what he is now? Not only is he a damn well good licensed locksmith in New York City, he's progressed so much since then that he is, if I remember correctly, the current president of the Open Organization of Lockpickers, aka TOOL. So, in the span of half a decade, he went from banging his head against this thing because it was the hardest thing in the world to being the head honcho of part of the pantheon of lock gods. And that should put in perspective of your journey. This is why I don't torture people with certain types of locks when they start out. This is why I'm never going to... I tell people, hey, Master Lock number 3s and 140s are beginner's locks for most people. And I also tell them, hey, when I started off with Master Lock number 3, it took me a fucking week to open it. Did you see? I can open them in seconds now. I can open way more complicated things seconds now, especially 6 years later for myself. But that should just show you the perspective of, one, you're always going to reach a lock, and for me it's certain high security locks, like American locks, that you just bang your head against the wall. There's always a lock where you're going to feel like you're a noob, which is one of the things I like about locks. But the second thing is that everyone started off being frustrated about this and getting stuck, getting annoyed, and that's why we're so encouraging, because we all started off this level of frustrated and feeling this level of stupid. And as I always say in my classes, if a giant dumbass like me can get to this point where I'm picking through intermediate locks that I broke through the first time and my mentor struggled with 6 plus years ago when he started out, you can also progress to this, because I also struggled with this. I struggled with worse than this, and I believe in you because I got through it, and I believe in myself. So he's forgot more locks than I ever know. Yeah, no, I'm sad that Niall's not in the chat, because A, he'll either point out history of stuff, or B, he will autocorrect any dumb thing that I say in logs, which I very actually much appreciate from him. So that's the reason why I did that first, because it just gives you perspective. Here's someone who is in a year or two starting out, in his very first starting out, this thing was a giant pain in the ass. A year or two later, he struggled with it, but was able to get it open. Within 5 to 6 years, he is now a god pantheon of locks, standing up there with Deviant Olem, Lockpicking Lawyer, and McNally, and all the rest. So that's the type of journey you're going to have. That's why I'm showing that video. This is also a great example of just showing, like, someone thinking this is a very difficult lock. So now we're going to look briefly at a video of someone who thinks this is the easiest lock in the world, and in fact is going to show the same rake technique that I just demoed to you. So let's look at the opposite end of the extreme of someone who encountered this lock and thought, wow, this is even easier than Master Lock number 3. Oh, by the way, right now, that someone is Stat Cracks Locks. He hasn't updated in a very long time. Actually, a lot of these, unfortunately, haven't updated in a long time, but I'm going to post his thing in there, and I thought you could check that out. So let's watch the video here. Here we go. Cool ass intro. I need to update mine.
What's going on, guys? This is a Master Lock 570. Much like the Master Lock 575 from one of my previous videos, this is a solid metal style Master Lock. Kind of going after that American lock look. However, not nearly as difficult to open as an American lock. Now, I'm quite fond of these locks as far as the look of them. They look really nice. I like the solid metal construction. Just look nice to have in a collection. You know, if you got them on display or anything like that, they're pretty nice locks as far as how they look. But we're going to open this lock today using a rake. And I'm going to use a rake that I don't really feature too much on my channel. We're going to use the Triple Peak Bogota for this. So this is the 570. It says 570 on the bottom here. You cannot change out this core. It cannot be repinned. That's the one thing I really wish that this lock had, was that you could make a challenge lock out of it or something like that, but that is just not the case. All right, so let's get this thing open. Well, first of all, let's use the key. We'll put the key in here, turn it. This is one of those locks that's the shackle's not spring loaded, so you have to pull it open. So there we go.
I love that. It sounds
Let's
like
lock
he
it
says
back up.
shekel.
Okay, we're good. All right, I'm just gonna put a little bit of tension in here, and we're gonna use that triple peak Bogota, which, in case you didn't know what one looks like, it's right here. This is one from Sparrows. All right, we're just gonna put it in here and give it a little bit of action and very light tension. See if we can get this thing open. There it is. Well, it took a little bit of action to get that guy going. Oh, you actually have to lock this back up in order for it to stay. There we go. All right, now let's take a look at why that worked. So if we look at the key here, actually has decent bitting, which is good to see. You can see deep grooves there and high pins, low pins, looking pretty good. So let's hold up that rake and see why this is working. You can see if we hold it up to the key, I'm going to do my best here to show you the difference. That is a really good mimic of the key. We just move it around in there back and forth a little bit and pop those pins into place. This lock does not have specific
Sorry, just pausing it real quick because I decided to use a normal sized but still decently low profiled bottom of the keyway tensioner with my 15,000th, and we have an open, so that is bottom of the keyway opening it. A bit more tricky than doing the top of the keyway, which I found really easier, so I just interrupted that to show that. Let's go back to Slatcrack's explanation. Sorry, I was just so happy about finally opening that bottom of the keyway. Let's see if I can repeat it again while he's talking.
Place. This lock does not have specifically strong springs. You notice if you single pin pick this lock, the pins move around very, very easily inside. So when you rake it, if you put just the right rake in there that lines up pretty nice with those pins, you'll be able to get this guy open. All right, so that's what I got for you today, guys. I'm going to put a link for this lock down in the description in case anyone wants it for their collection.
So as we've seen here, we've now gone through two different extremes. We've gone from my mentor Night Owl, who runs Tool, who 6 years ago, this was one of the hardest locks for him, and now we've gone to Slats, who has shown that to him, this was the easiest lock to learn and showed a really cool raking technique how to open it. Now let's find the middle ground here. It's the last video I promised that we're going to watch, where we're going to look at, let me bring them up. We're going to be looking at, I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm going to try my best here, even though I'm Polish, so I should not pronounce too many consonants. I need like marbles. I need to speak like Nirvana. This is Nirvana-ese. Who is more of a puzzle person, which again, that's kind of what lockpicking is in locks. They're like real life. They're like puzzles with actual practical applications, in my opinion. They're going to show what I was talking about with spools and more of the construction of this. Unfortunately, I couldn't get Lockpicking Dev's amazing gutting of the lock, but you can go look up his channel and his video on your own. So let's go a bit of a deep dive into what actually constitutes this lock.
And then right, and today I'd like to show a little bit about some of the trickier things about picking spool pins, and some of the things that can go wrong, and sort of how to get the right feel and how to pick them anyways. So on certain locks like these Brinks, this is a 40mm Brinks with 2 or 3 spool pins, and I think it actually has 3. And these spool pins in this lock are some of the sort of the deepest, most dramatic, obvious spools. So let me see if I can show that to you. When you're picking a spool pin, you can get a pretty solid deep false set. So I have a okay set. Okay, now I'm into a deep false set. You can see that instead of the core being straight up and down, it's already turned at a pretty significant angle. And when I find the spool pin that's wedged and I lift up on it, I get a really dramatic move in my tension wrench. And then once I get it, the lock is open. This is about as easy as spool pins get. And this is probably the lock that is easiest to learn how to pick spool pins on because they talk to you so much. There's another lock. This is a master number 570. And this also has spool pins in it, and it is way harder to pick. And that has a little bit to do with the size and the shape of the spool pins. So I want to show you what's happening. This is a nice acrylic
God, I can't wait to
spool
make
and
one of
regular
those.
pin demonstration device
I also
from
post this video in the chat.
octosavvy.com. It's a really, really cool thing to have for training. So with a spool pin, when you put in tension, the pin sort of gets wedged. And then when you lift up on the pin, you get this counter rotation. And that's what we were feeling and seeing in the brass brinks. So it turns out that the depth of this spool, you know, how much it's been cut in, so how narrow the beam is in the center matters, but also the thickness of the foot matters. Now, on this particular demo, the top pin is relatively tall. And that actually prevents, when we go all the way on the tension, you'll see that the thing that's preventing this from turning more is not the thickness of or how the depth of the spool. It's actually the thickness of the foot. And if that foot were, you can imagine if that foot were thicker, even thicker, it would wedge even sooner. Like we'd only be able to do a tiny counter rotation, or excuse me, we'd only be able to do a tiny sort of false set before it would stop. And then the counter rotation that we'd get would be much more subtle, right? You'd only get a tiny bit of counter rotation on it. And that's part of what is happening in this 570. Now let me take out this lower pin to demonstrate what a smaller bottom key pin will do. So with a smaller bottom key pin, you can imagine, you know, a pin like that, when you get right around there, now you have an unbelievably deep false set. And what matters is not the thickness of the foot, what matters is the actual depth of cut for the spool, how deep the spool is. And in that case, like, you get even more dramatic counter rotation. It's even more obvious. And I think that that's what's happening inside of this brass lock. That just the height of the key pins combined with how deep the spool is, combined with the thickness of the foot, sort of gives you the fullest possible spool pin effect in these brass locks, or these brass brinks locks, and you don't run into that situation on the master lock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first put this back together, and then I want to talk about a couple other problems that you can have with spool pins. So with a spool pin, when you're applying your tension and you're lifting up and you're feeling for that counter rotation, you back up on your tension, you try to get your pin past it. You can accidentally get your pin into a state like that, where you haven't actually set it yet, but you got it past the false set. Or you got it past the part where it was catching, but you haven't gotten back into the false set. This is really a common situation to get in. And you can actually fall back into the false set like that and think that you set the pin, but you actually had the pin fall back down. But other pins, besides just the one you're picking, can also, because you're backing up on the tension, other pins can fall back down into this state. And what you have to do once you get that pin set is you have to firmly apply tension, very firmly apply tension, and then you have to very firmly, with your pick, go and lift each one of those, and then you can get yourself into back into the false set or the lock open when you have a pin like that wedged. And then so a slightly more subtle variation of that happens when a pin falls down into this configuration, and it's usually not the pin you just picked, it's some other pin you've already picked that falls back down in this configuration, so now it's blocking the plug from rotating again. And the fix is the same, right? You go to each one of the pins and you really shove up on it with firm tension and you'll get past it. So I want to try to actually demonstrate some of those on this Master 570. Now, this is a completely dead core. There is no spring in this lock at all. There's no shackle spring. There's no spring putting tension on the core. There's no spring at all. And so that's another thing that makes this lock quite hard, is that you really have to very carefully control tension. With this brass lock, because this brass brinks, because the false set is so deep, when you lift, you get that obvious counter rotation, and the spring effect sort of helps it come back too, but you don't get that on this. You have a much subtler rotation, and you don't have that spring helping you out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to pick this lock and talk you through it. So I'm on pin number 1. Pin number 1 is binding, and I'm just slowly rocking that pin up and up and up into its position. Okay, I think I got it set, but I didn't get any counter rotation or anything like that. So now I'm on pin 2. Okay, I think I got it set, and now I'm on pin 4. Okay, now I'm into a false set. That is an incredibly subtle false set, though. Now that I'm in this false set, what I have to do is, one, I'm going to come off on the tension a little bit, and hopefully any pins that aren't set will come all the way down to the bottom. That's going to give me the maximum amount of counter rotation feel. So sometimes you can accidentally have a pin partially lifted but not set, and then you're not getting the full counter rotation feel. So I'm going to get them all the way back down there. Okay, and then what I'm going to go is I'm going to go to pin 1. Even though I think I already have it set, I'm going to go to pin 1, and there's nothing. It's completely springy, or it's not even springy. It's clearly already set. The key pin just moves up and down with no spring tension at all. So that's not it. So now I'm on pin, I believe 3. Okay, so I'm on pin 3, and I was lifting on it and I wasn't getting anything. So now I'm on pin 4.
So we're not going to watch the whole thing, but that's a great deep dive, even better, especially with the close-ups and the visuals of how spool pins work, and about the difference that literally, because this one is spring-loaded and this one isn't, how much this throws it off, which makes this lock, even though this is technically a master lock, I think rated number 3, and this is rated number 5, doesn't matter, it's because of toughness. But the actual difficulty between the two is because the 140s, even despite having a spool pin that's crappily set up, has spring tension in its core, and these spool pins, even though they are crappily set up, don't have any, completely throws you off. It makes it very subtle. So there's one last video we're going to watch, and then we're going to wrap up the stream. And by the way, thank you all for watching so far. And once again, thank you for Terrell for donating that $25. I'm honestly so excited that we're already starting off with a bang like this for the charity. Can't wait to watch other people get involved. And again, if you have a channel where you upload videos or live stream lockpicking, red teaming, blue teaming, doing hacking exercises, hardware soldering, I'm going to reach out to everyone tomorrow to try to get us involved for the Hackers for Palestine so we can get money to Doctors Without Borders and help some wounded, starving, ill people in need in the Palestinian Gaza region, because they deserve that because they're human beings. But, as I said, there's a reason why this lock is so popular. And a reason why it's so popular is because of McNally, where even if you've never heard of McNally, you have heard of McNally because he is one of the main people behind Covert Instruments. And so both on his private channel, Covert Instruments, he makes these like hilarious, really like, he's kind of like if lockpicking lawyer from Covert Instruments is like the good cop, he is definitely the bad cop, where he just is like Deadpool, no shame, just shits on all the locks and stuff. It's kind of like, I would say that lockpicking lawyer is kind of like the Bob Ross of lockpicking. McNally's kind of like that. I forget his name, but that was that crazy German guy who painted with a giant brush and just all he did was complain about his life because he's German. That's McNally. And early on in McNally's career, and you can tell that because he has a really deep voice now, but back then he sounded like he was on helium. He made I think it's either his first or one of his first viral video shorts on TikTok, which is kind of where he really got his start, and YouTube, about the 570. And we're going to watch that really quick, and we're going to find out why we're watching it for a specific reason.
You won't believe this lock's special feature. It's a Master Lock Model 570 maximum pick resistant padlock. It has 5 pins, including some security pins, and if you look carefully inside the keyway, you can actually see where they put the disappointment.
we're going to watch that one more time. We're going to highlight certain things in the video because, again, I add this very late, so I couldn't resize it.
You won't believe this lock's special feature. It's a Master Lock Model 570 maximum pick resistant padlock. It has 5 pins, including some security pins, and if you look carefully inside the keyway, you can actually see where they put the disappointment.
I don't know if this is a criticism of McNally's videos. I'm more kind of just pointing out his style. In order to get people to pay attention to learning this stuff, because I'm very much the boring teacher of this, to be perfectly honest. This is like university classroom, blah, 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 blah. McNally is the cool uncle, you know, he does crazy stuff. He throws fire axes and things. So when you're making these short viral clips and stuff, you don't really have, you're not really explaining what's going on. You're just making people go, whoa, what the fuck? So that people then can watch all your other stuff. So I'm not going to fault him on that, but there's a reason why that trick works, and you can see what he's doing here. We're not going to watch it in slow-mo, but let's take a look at this. I'm going to turn the audio off. So he takes it out of the case. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is the technique here of this zip rake that he's going to do. So what he's essentially doing is he's taking his triple peak. And remember I said that there's that high-low high gap that's poorly implemented? So he's tensioning it at the bottom. So we are super low profile bottom of QA tensioner. And what he's doing with his wave rake is and I'll do a close-up one too because you're going to see why. He shoves down at an angle and then he rocks up and pulls out. And that immediately, instead of doing the wiggling, that's like an instant wiggle, and it vibrates all the pins at all the right angles where it basically opens it in one shot. So that's a great example of, you know, always try to get decent tools, but most of this is technique. And so this is the technique that he's using, and you're going to see it. We're going to kind of go like a little frame by frame. So he's like jabs in there, he's in that, and then you're going to see he rocks it back and pulls out, and that instantly opens it with vibrating. Here's a reason why I'm not going to try to use the triple peak on this, though, for a very specific reason. And that is because if you also notice here when he has it in frame, see that that handle design? You see the purple? That is a Peterson's triple peak. Peterson's has its own name. It's like freaking In-N-Out Burger, so I'm not going to call it whatever the fuck it's called. It's probably some weird name like the Raspberry or something. But all the handle colors are the width of the metal. So again, he usually does things in 20 to 25 thousandths of an inch. Those are black handled ones. He has blue handled ones that are 15 thousandths of an inch. This is a purple handle one at probably the best width you could do for this lock, which is 18th of a thousandth of an inch, which means it's sturdy enough they can do the rake thing without breaking it, but thin enough that it fits into the tiny keyway. I only have 20,000 inch rakes, so I can't do that same technique, I don't think, with this wave rake, although I can try. What instead I'm going to do very delicately is I'm going to attempt to do this same exact technique with the, and I wish I had a half diamond that was 15 thousandths, but this 15 thousandths of an inch short hook, and we're going to see if we can do it, because I did it once, and we'll see what it does. So you can see the same technique where he has the featherweight tension at the bottom, McNally, and then he does this at a certain angle where he jams it in really fast, and then he angles it back and pulls it out, which zips it and opens it, which hits all the right spots. So we're going to try it a couple of times. I might succeed, might fail. Let's see what happens here. So let's put on the lockpicking cam. Pull this back up. Sorry for making everyone sick. Alright, so if I remember correctly, it's like a down is an up sort of thing, which I immediately lost tension. Again, this worked a lot better on the older... Actually, you know what? I'm using the 15,000, so let's use a normal one here. So we're going to do lightweight tension, and then he just goes like something like that. So it's like... So it's like a... Maybe I'm going to hold it sturdier like this and see if we get it. I did it once. I lost tension on it. I already just scratched the shit out of the front of it. Wow, that's hilarious. I have to probably buff that. That shows you it's made out of aluminum. It's just like something like that. Almost. So I'm also trying not to break the pick. While not losing the tension either. Because it's like a scrape in the front and then the normal raking, so... Sorry, normal zipping, so it's just... We're so close in getting this. No, I really did scratch the front of that, wow. Hope I don't stab myself in the hand. I'm going to try the super thick ones so that we don't keep losing the tension on this. See if... Hopefully we'll stop the space for this. Again, I did this once with the 15 thousandths hook. Again, I'm going to invest later into a 15 thousandths because I've been wanting one worm rake or triple peak. Let's see if that works. And actually, idea time. I want to see if I can do this with an S rake. See if I can do it with a snake rake. And then I'll actually do it with the worm rake and see if that works. Alright, so it seems sort of like... It's like see, the thing is that it's so thick at the bottom that I'm getting like stuck on the first couple of pins. Do this a couple more times. Let's try the actual rake. Even though I don't think I can fit in here. Do it at the angle he did it at. God, now I wish I recorded that one time I actually did this successfully. So, because I'm tired, what we have determined tonight is that I'm definitely not McNally from Covert Instruments. But let's do a recap of what we did learn. That this is the Master Lock 170. That even though, to me, it's as easy to pick as Master Lock number 3, it's only as easy to pick if you've been picking locks for a while, you know the methodology, you know what you're doing, and you know what you're getting into with this, which includes the differences between low security master locks and the sort of high security stuff that you're going to start encountering in this sort of master lock series, and other features, where did I put the keys, that you see on high security locks that starts with this, such as having actual secure pins in it, in this case spool pins, having a core that is not spring tensioned, which throws off the feel of it, and having not a paracentric keyway, but a smaller keyway that almost makes it like it's paracentric. So I agree, which is why this lock is so divisive, that no matter where you think this is difficult, unless you know what you're doing, or you think this is the easiest lock in the world because you can just pick and rake this in seconds, bottom or top the keyway tension, that this is because of its unique properties, this is a great introduction for intermediary. Once you're used to picking the Master Lock 1 through 5s, you've done 5 to 6 normal standard pins, and you want to learn like security stuff. Maybe you learned how to do spools, and then you learned about the low-high lows, and you want to try a lock that does both. Perfect one. This is a great addition to my set. If I have some extra money, I will totally get another one of these. You can get these for like $15 to like $17. Gonna get a second one for people to use. Really, really, really awesome, and got good content for this episode. So, that's it for the Master of Unlocking today. This was a very productive stream, even though once again we started late because I'm dumb. This has been awesome. We have one more episode to go. I will say right now that here's what the next 2 episodes are going to look like, from what I can tell. The end of the year, and by the way, I'm moving dates around. So, to be honest, we're probably not going to do this episode until the day before Christmas. So, instead of doing it on the 17th, I believe we're going to do this on the 24th, the night before Christmas, and all through the house. Not a creature we're stirring, except for a lockpicking lawyer finding counter rotation on pin number 3. And, hey, Ziftas, I'm sorry for catching this at the end. I don't know if you were lurking and learning, but if you are, keep lurking and learning. We're almost done. The last episode of this is I'm going to do an entire dedication for the Doctors Without Borders charity stream. And it's going to be super casual. I'm going to be talking with you guys. We're going to go through my entire current kit. Maybe I'll even have 1 or 2 locks. And you get me to pride myself over some of the easy stuff and blow my brains out over the really difficult stuff that I get stuck with. And I'm going to torture myself with all of that for as long as it takes, just so we can get more donations for Doctors Without Borders, which is under our initiative Hackers for Palestine, because a lot of people, especially Palestinians, native Palestinians, are getting killed out there, and it's gotten so bad where even the Israeli Defense Force is also shooting the fucking doctors out there. So they need all the help support to get, which is why we have awesome people like Charel, who during the stream donated $25 to kick all this off. It will always be known as the first donation in this campaign that's going to last all the way to mid to end March. So thank you so much for that. If you want to donate off stream, you don't have to donate it live. It's just when you do it live, you get mentioned on the stream and we worship you. If you can't donate, spread the word, and instead you can follow us on Twitch, YouTube, Odyssey, PeerTube, and Kick. And by the way, if you're on YouTube, make sure you click that bell and turn all notifications on, because YouTube is such a poorly coded piece of shit and they hate their own content creators that they don't do that by fucking default. But that's where you can get alerts and stuff. And by spreading the links, such as the one I put in chat, and just spreading the word about what we're going to announce on social media about this will be a big help. You can also scan that QR code in the corner, or if you're on our Twitch page, there's a direct way to donate right on our Twitch page. In addition, if you make content, whether you live stream or pre-recorded, and you want to be involved with the Hackers for Palestine thing so we can raise a minimum, and we're already $25 the way to there, because we're going to try to fill in half of this for Doctors Without Borders to help people in war zones like the Gaza-Palestinian conflict. Sorry, the Gaza. I'm sorry. Hydrate. I'm an American. I don't know where countries are. The Israeli-Palestinian war that's going on again. Reach out to me. I'm going to be reaching out to other content creators, and we'll try to get some money to help some people, because that's the best thing to do transitioning into 2024 and this holiday season, is giving back. So the next episode, which should be on Christmas Eve, so December 24th, 7 to 8 p.m. So I'm trying to figure out the time. Maybe I'll start even earlier than that because I want to go on for a while. It's going to be pure live streaming, pure chatting with all of you, fucking around with locks for hours. Then, I won't say what date, but the first show of the new year in 2024 in January, I'm getting Hack Manhattan involved. I'm getting the public involved. I'm getting you involved at home, because I've made some improvements to the patented, invented last year, lockpicking lawyer drinking game. Yes, we are going back to that. We are going to be randomizing and loading up videos from lockpicking lawyer, and he's had a whole new year of making new videos, and I've redone the rules to make things a little bit more palatable and a lot more fucked up drunkenness. So we're going to be engaging with that. So end of the year, giant focus on charity, just eating through locks. Beginning of the year, drinking a ton of different questionable fluids, because lockpicking lawyer has some very memeable stuff. And that's going to be us going from 2023 to 2024. Thank you for watching the stream. Again, thank you for Terrell for donating. If you are on YouTube, you're going to be forwarded to Lady Locke's upcoming video. If you're on Twitch, we're going to be raiding another channel, so stay tuned and say hi to that person. And last but not least, again, I post the charity and the link for Hackers for Palestine, but if you want to catch up on us, we have a Medium blog at DEFCON 201. .medium.com. Our link tree that we post in chat, we are all around social media. We're on the Dying Twitter platform, aka X, at DEFCON 201NJ. We are on Instagram and Threads on it's just DEFCON 201. Same thing with GitHub. We're on the hostducks.social instance of Mastodon. Yay, Mastodon. We've recently got a Blue Sky under DCG 201. We're on a ton of different things. You have no excuse to follow us there. That's in our link tree. And last, also but not least, again, we're going to be more using it starting in January next year. But here's Discord. I can't wait till we have physical meetings again, also in January, as well as a bunch of fun stuff that me and other staff members have been sitting on for a year. Again, thank you for the support, Master Unlocking. Once again, shout out to Charrel for donating $25 to kick off the Hackers for Palestine, Doctors Without Borders charity fund we're going to be doing until March, and hopefully with some other collaborators. If you want to get involved, reach out to us. Thank you for watching Master of Unlocking. I can't wait to see you on Master of Unlocking for New Year's Eve. And this upcoming Saturday, I'm going to be doing Crypto Barons, and those will also be the other last 2 live streams. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned if you're on Twitch or YouTube for the videos we go. Definitely check us out. And also a shout out to Hack Manhattan for hosting this. Hack the Planet. Dirty Jersey represents. And remember, I'm not sure we remember. To remember again, like I showed with the Night Owl video, that I got stuck for an entire week when I first learned lockpicking on Master Lock number 3s, and now I can eat through them just by thinking about them after 6 years of doing this. My mentor, this was his pain in the ass lock that he couldn't open it, and even when he did finally open it, he struggled. We watch him do this. 6 years later, he is running the entire the Open Organization of Lockpickers, aka TOOL, in the United States. We all started as noobs. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. Don't be discouraged from learning this, as long as you are patient. And if you also are stuck, take a breather, reach out to people like me and other people in Locksport. We believe in you. We're going to guide you through it because we went through the same thing. You can do this. Anyone can do this. It's the brilliance of what Locksport is. See you around. Enjoy the music. Say hi to whoever we raid. See you next time. Bye.